Good day, brothers and sisters, One Nation Tribal Alliance, friends and family near and far, across the pond and this side of the pond. Today, we'd like to welcome you on our native talk on April the 16th. And we'd like to, again, introduce ourselves. I'm Greg Yawakia, One Nation Tribal Alliance. I'm from the Pueblo Zuni near the Four Corners. And we have,
I am Eve Howard. I am Ojibwe. So I am from the White Earth Nation that's located in Minnesota. Um, well, what else? Well, today, this it was really weird when you asked me. It just kind of boom, kind of came into my head. But some of the things, especially like the last what 20 years have been kind of insane. But before we start that, you said you had something to talk to all of us about. So I'm kind of excited.
okay, well, today our topic is going to be on visions and dreams. And, visions and dreams, whether they're good or bad, whether they're, in the light or in the dark, whatever, you know, we have control. We have a higher self in us to really control these dreams and visions. And a lot of people say, well, why is that? How is that? How do we have control? How do we take control? Well, today I will briefly tell you about our sixth level in the prayer conscious, which is in the medicine wheel, the sixth level is the masculine masculine energy, and also it's we're going to our chakras, which is the pineal gland, and so in the sixth chakra, that is. So to get started on the seven conscious prayer level, remember this, there are seven conscious prayer level, which is like the seven chakras, main chakras, and in the medicine wheel, the first I will explain to you about the seven conscious level, which is on the bottom. Root is I am. Starts out with I am, which is the root chakra. And then you go into their sacral chakra, which is I feel. And then you go into your solar plex, which is I do. And then you go into your heart chakra, which is, you know, which is basically I love. And then you go into your fifth chakra, which is, your throat, which is in this conscious level, prayer conscious level is I speak. And in the sixth conscious level, which is the pineal gland in the chakras, is I know. No, let's take that back. It's I see. It's I see. And then the final one, the seventh one is I know, which is the conscious, ultimate conscious level. Well, anyway, we're today talking about our visions and our dreams about being in the conscious level of, you know, I see. And in the paraconscious level is I see. And in the medicine world, it is, the male masculine divine masculine. And in the chakras is your pineal gland. So when we talk about, I know or I see in our visions, what do we see in our visions? We get visions, we get dreams, whether they're good or bad dreams. When we have good dreams, we really get into it. But if it's a bad dream, we're normally horrified. It gets so bad to where we go into sleep paralysis sometimes, to where the dark is really controlling us. And while it's controlling you, if you're powerful enough, like, some people would tell us, like Eve would say, if I could just touch my finger and my index thumb and my index finger together, I can wake myself up. I can wake myself up. Well, I know we can do all that. We can think all that. However, understand we have our guides, our protectors, our angels watching over us, Call upon them rather than trying to wake yourself up. If you can't wake yourself, call upon your guides. That's just the bottom line to it. You know, get yourself protected, which is from your guides. Because once you get yourself protected, believe me, the dark will run just that quick. Because that's how powerful you are. And like I tell people, the difference between us and the dark is very much so that we are more powerful than the dark. Because two things, the dark and us were created by the same Father, the Creator. It's just that the dark went one way out of the light, and we're staying in the light. And when they come attack us, chances are it's just not one entity. It's going to be two or three entities. They're going to try to come attack one light. But you got millions of help out there, angels, ETs, whomever you call upon as your guides, your protectors. Call upon them. Let them come and help you because they're not alone. So you shouldn't be alone either. So when you call upon them, they come. And I tell people when you get attacked by the dark, stop and ask questions. And a lot of people say, "What?" I say, "Yeah." Do you ask them, "What do you want?" or "How can I help you?" or "Why? Why are you doing this?" Ask them. Or say, "I see you. I know who you are. I see you." And what if you expose them, they start losing their power. They run. And so being in a higher conscious of, you know, I see, we have three visions that we are not aware of, and that is our direct vision, our peripheral vision, and our third eye vision. And I tell people to exercise your direct vision when you quickly look to the right or to the left. Your direct vision has to focus before you can see it. So if you're sitting there watching television and all of a sudden something flashed by and you look for it, by the time you focus in on it, it's gone. That's why you only see a splitting image of it. You don't get a clear image, you get a dot or whatever, a blurred vision, because your mind hasn't focused or your eyes haven't focused into that object. But if you stand straight ahead and watch television, it comes through, and you see that it came through, and you don't move your head or anything. You just keep watching television. It's gonna come through, and then finally you'll slow down, and you can see that person because your peripheral vision don't need to focus. It doesn't need to focus. And once you see it, you can say, "What do you want?" And they're gonna stop and freeze because they're gonna say, "Oh, I got busted," and they're gonna surprise them. When you surprise them, they stop. Like I said, talk to the dark. What do you want? Don't be afraid of him. Talk to him. Because if you can't talk to him verbally, you use your mental telepathy. What do you want? You know, and you watch them freeze because you expose them. You know, you don't figured out who they are to where they're gonna say, "Oh man." And when they freeze, then you can look at it and say, "What do you want? Who sent you? What are you here to do? You're not going to get it. You're not going to get it from me. So you better just go on." You know. And when you talk to them like that, but chances are you'll be a lot of people will get scared, and when you get scared, they got you because fear is their number one power behind everything. So now in a vision, you get in your message. Now you ask yourself, is this a message to help myself or to help others? And you ask yourself, is this the correct vision from the light to where, everything's in exchange, you know, energy exchange, you know, if it is, give me power, give me knowledge, give me strength to do it, you know, and that's, same thing when Jesus went into the Garden of Gethsemane. He was scared to go through that crucifixion, but he said, "Let my cup runneth over," meaning that give me energy, because he knew what he's gonna go through. Not eating for a long time, and to be able to carry that heavy cross. It was as heavy as he fell a couple times, but he still mustered enough energy to get up and finish the route. You know, and you know when we get to that point, we have to say, we are strong, and it doesn't matter what you go through. You know, when you face the dark, you know, they say, "We're gonna kill you. We're gonna kill you." They can't kill your infinite being. Only the Father will. But the Father has no reason to get rid of you because you got a mission somewhere else in the next universe, wherever He's going to send you, or maybe send you back to Earth to finish up what you're doing. I don't know. That's why a lot of people say reincarnation.
Mhm.
But your infinite being goes on forever. So when you get a dream or a vision, be in control because you have the power. Remember, you know, I see. What do you see? And one more thing, we're used to looking right to left. Your power of observation will get stronger if you do it the other way, up and down. Because when you move it up and down, you're moving a different muscle on your neck rather than going sideways, which is normal, horizontal. But if you go up and down vertical, your muscles are going to move differently, and your brain going to say, "Oh, what's going on? What's going on?" Moving differently, and then it's going to wake it up to where you're going to comprehend more information and be in control of your dreams. If you don't like what you see, call upon your guides, call upon your angels, whomever. So I just wanted to pass that on before we get started on our visions and our dreams. So I know you got some, so let us have it, Eve.
Uh, thank you for that. Yeah, that was definitely a lot of things I had to learn on my own. I mean, it was, when I was talking about moving the fingers, I mean, that was my first actual thing that I did where I was like, I felt like I had some control over it. But as you become more, as you step more into your power, you begin to learn different ways to alleviate any type of situation, especially, being in a lucid dream or being in a dream and then you think, out of the blue, you just something random that, that no one has any control over. I know it was just a normal, I was at my uncle's house and I just said, huh, yeah, I do whatever I want. What am I doing here? I was walking and I decided I was just going to go zero gravity. So I just popped up in the air and the next thing you know, I'm zero gravity and I'm pushing off of the walls with my feet and pulling myself along. And, I mean, I did get a little nervous when I went outside of the house because I was like, I could probably blow away and go somewhere else. But, you have control over that. But one of the first things that I recall was in like 2012. I mean, I have like all these little memories of these, fragmented dreams but this was like an actual something that felt very real to me. And I had fallen asleep. Was up in a different reservation, and I had a doctor's appointment, and I was early in the morning, so we got over at my partner's aunt's house, and we got the baby and everybody down to sleep, and I was laying down and I fell asleep, and when I woke up, I'm looking down at myself. I'm looking down at myself sleeping, and I was facing the wall. So, I mean, I could see what position I was in. I looked over, my partner was there. My baby's sleeping in a playpen next to the bed. And I just kind of like I don't know, just all of a sudden I just move backwards and I go through I just materialize through the roof and I'm in the sky. and I'm over this lake, and I know which lake it was. It was Mille Lacs Lake, which is in Minnesota, and it's really shallow. Just try to keep that in mind. And I'm like flying over the lake, and I didn't look down to see what form I was in, but I look to my left, and I see a line of eagles, and the one next to me kind of looks at me, and I look this way, and there's another line of eagles, and we're going in a straight line. And I was like, this is amazing to me. And I look down, and I see these, and they're walleye, but they're like special. They're like, their eyes are like golden, and they're flying, or they're not flying. They're swimming in a line underneath us, like these eagles. And they're like right underneath us, and they're swimming as fast as we are flying. And we're headed in an eastern direction because the sun is coming up. And as soon as the sun peeks over and I see it kind of red, it just like I'm back. Like I must have woke up, and I'm back in my body again. But I mean, the lake was so shallow that I could see these walleye swimming in the same direction. We were all moving together as one. And it took me a while because I was always wanting, direct clarification and validation of that out of body experience, that dream, that astral travel. But what it is, we're all gonna have to work together for, the next future, or the future that's coming. We're all gonna have to be going in the same direction. We're all gonna have to people that are different. So the eagle is different than the fish, but they were still going in the same direction. And that's kind of what I've come to, and I mean, I've tried to talk to people about it, and they're like, it's your personal vision, and what it means to you and what does it mean. And that's what it meant to me. It meant, that we're all going to be going in one direction, to a sunrise, to a new day. And the day was going to be beautiful. The sky was just, clear. It was warm. I mean, it was an amazing day. So, there's a lot of things that have been going on, not only in the energy, but it's almost like, you know, s- people are like, I don't know, having like these what people want to call reincarnations, past lives. People call them alter soul fragments, um, and gaining memories. Which is what I was told was going to happen. But I mean, it could never come fast enough for me because I wanted to know, what was going on in the past. Could it grant me more knowledge to help me in this point in time, remembering. And so that was kind of a strange dream, which would be like a series of visions that I started to have. And, I mean, I could go into a different one unless, you have something to ask or add to that.
Well, you
Um,
know,
I,
on the visions that we get, visions are basically, what the spirits are trying to tell us or show us or guide us
mhm,
to, and it's like an instructions. They give us a task, but if we don't really understand what the task is and you seek, that's when you asked about meditation earlier. Meditation is if you get a task pop in your head and you say, I can do that. Well, meditate. Really meditate about it. Don't
mhm,
just grab it and run with it because that's where a lot of people, you know, get in trouble because, it's like a car. You give a 14-year-old car, he says, "Oh, I got a car. I think I know how to drive it. I think I know." Get in, they drive reckless, yeah, boom, they wreck it. But you
mhm,
know, when you get a car, at a later age, you're so thankful, you're so proud of it, and you're gonna baby that car. A vision should be like that. When you get a vision, understand what your main goal is. You have your goal. Create some objectives of reaching that goal of what your mission is. If your mission is to help people, if it's like if they say, okay, these people are hungry here. Now your mission is to basically, you know, feed them all. Feed them all. And you're gonna say, well, how am I gonna feed 500 people? Well, let's start looking at some objectives. Well, we could probably make a big old pot of potato stew. Potatoes are cheap. And we'll get a piece of meat. Go kill a couple of rabbits and throw it in the potato and make a potato soup and just
Mm-hmm.
don't tell them what it is and just say it's native food and let them eat it. But anyway, that's just one way of feeding them. But if you really planning to say, well, I can seek donation. Who can I seek
Mm-hmm.
donation? Or I could gather help, share my vision with other people, so they can, if they see it and they feel it, they can say, well, we're not going to be able to help you, but we'll give you some cash donations on it, or we can provide this for you. We got plenty of meat from our deer hunt. We can give you some of the deer meat, or we can give you most of the deer meat, or whatever. You start thinking about your objectives of reaching the goal of that vision that you get. And the spiritual vision is a lot different. They say, well, you gotta show this person that he is a spiritual. How do you do that? Well, the first thing is you don't go in there saying, you know, you got to do this. No, just you know, be Christ-like, as they say. You know, I always like to use Jesus' example because everybody knows he's a divine master, Jesus. It's just like Thoth is a divine master, but not very many people know about Thoth. Apollonius was a
Mm-hmm.
divine master. Not very many people know about Apollonius unless you read about him and you could hear and see, or you could feel and see and understand what kind of miracles he did. He did just as much miracles as Jesus did, you know, raising the dead, healing. We all have that gift,
Oops.
because it's in the Bible. Again, I like to refer everything about the Bible because everybody understands it and everybody can look it up. You know, in the Bible, you know, Matthew chapter 10, verse 7 through 13. Jesus said, freely I give you authority to heal the sick, raise the dead, and to remove all dark spirits. A lot of people look at it and says, well, he was talking to his disciple. Again, if you're doing Father's work, what are you? His disciple, right? You know,
Mm-hmm.
and so when you have that authority that was given to you, passed down to you, you can do it. That's why healers, that's why I tell people, I said, when you put your hands like this, put your gut, I can actually literally see the electricity in my hands come across my power, my energy. And I say, you can use
Mm-hmm.
that as a Spider-Man. The dark comes after you, point your hand, and watch the energy, and watch them run away. Because like I said, we know the speed of light, but do we know the speed of dark? You know, I believe our energy is way, way beyond the speed of dark because, ain't nothing faster. You can put your hand, when I do that, every time I do that, my hand starts tingling. After I do it, I can feel the energy go out, but my hands will start tingling. Why is it that way? Because we don't understand. We all have this gift. When you heal people, look at the new things that's coming out on taking care of neuropathy. The red light. They got this red light treatment going on for your eyes, for your muscles, for your arthritis, for your you know uh, neuropathy, and all it is it's red light sending in energy into your nerves to connect with your nerves to wake it up. It works. You try to, I have cataracts, and sometimes my cataracts get foggy. I put that red light treatment on, boom, it's cleared up. it clears up the fogness on my lens. I don't have to go to optometrist who he lasers a hole in it and it leaks out. I don't have
Mm.
to do that. I just get that red light, put up, my neuropathy used to be real bad. The other day, I stepped on something, I said, ow. So what's that? What did I step on? And I've read it, and there's, you know, like I said, we inherited a grandson, and he left somewhere a little bitty toys on. And I stepped on this, and that's the first time I felt it. I said, wow, my feet. And it's amazing when when they say you have neuropathy and all, like the doctor told me after my transplant. You can't walk. You're gonna have to use this. Give me a forwarder, what I call, them walkers. He said you're gonna use this
Hmm.
rest of your life. I said, heck no. I never took the price tag or anything off. It's still sitting somewhere with price tags on it. I got up and I said, I'm not using that thing. I'm gonna walk. And yeah, I used to hang on to things when I'd walk, but you know, I got a cane and I started using it, and now I can walk without a cane. I don't need a cane to walk. Which I'm because one thing is that the dark told me, "Oh, we're gonna stop you from going out and doing this. We're gonna stop you, stop." I said, "I don't care what y'all do or what y'all say. Even if I'm on a wheelchair, I'll roll out there and I'll share the light news. I'll share my knowledge. I will give the knowledge. Nobody can know that I can walk when I'm sitting in a computer or I'm fully dressed. Or like I put a top shirt on and hey, I may have would be wearing pajamas, but I'm not. I'm wearing my blue jeans because I do take our inherited grandson to school. But these are the things that we can do. You know, if the, the dark came up with this technology of trying to stop us and all, hey, let's use it on the bright side. Let's use it. So this is the reason why I like to do podcasts. I like to send out my what I've been shared with. You know, don't let and you are powerful. Remember, if you allow your spirit to control your body can rejuvenate from whatever illness you got in you. If you got cancer, it'll rejuvenate to where it'll control that cancer and it'll get rid of it. I helped the person that had a big cancer. We shrunk it down to a golf ball size. And
Mm.
when we did, the doctor finally took it out. And because before it was so big that they didn't want to take it out because it's going to be afraid that it was going to kill him because of the position that it was in. But when we worked on it, it was shrink to golf ball size, and they finally went in and got it out. Now he's cancer free. He says, "How'd you do that?" I didn't do it. I don't get the credit. I'm just a vessel. I connect with the
Yes.
father and mother. That's all I do. I mean and the thing about it is like the dark. When you deal with it, share them love, show them love. Hey, thanks for coming, but I think you've done enough damage. What it's time for you to go, but when you go, we love you. Enjoy that. When you leave, leave with our love. Oh, they don't want that. They can get out of there quick. But again, you tell the person, allow your body to, allow your spirit to control the body. Because a lot of people says, "Man, I can't stop smoking. I can't do this. I can't." That's because your body is controlling the spirit. Because it's the
Hmm.
body that's craving, not the spirit. But if you allow the spirit to control the body, you know, guess what? You're gonna rehabilitate yourself. I don't care what kind of illness you are, challenge yourself. People say, "Oh, I'm sick today. I'm sick." Don't manifest your sickness. I'm healing today. I'm
Yep. I am
healing.
healing. I always say that. I
Yeah,
never
yeah.
say
I am healing.
I am, nope. I am healing. They're like, are you feeling okay? I am healing. I refuse to put myself back, or keep myself from moving forward.
Yeah. I mean, this
It's,
and what does this go about the vision or dreams? Well, if you have a vision, it's your mission. It's enhancing your mission. It's helping you through your mission. Your mission is just to be the light, be in the light, and be the light. If you're a healer, your mission is to continue your connection with mother and father. because believe me, you will be constantly attacked if you're connected. But you don't worry about
Mhm.
the attacks. Just look at him, brush it off. Don't drag it with it. Oh man, I went through this. And that's one thing about a lot of people that talk about their past. Never mind the past. Right now, right now. You're not guaranteed tomorrow. You're not. If you didn't learn from the past, let's go right now. Evidently, you are awoke. You are awakened if that happened to you in the past because you are a survivor. There's a reason why you survive because you need to be awakened. You need to go into the spiritual realm to understand who you really are. Because before you do anything, you got to know who you really are in your spirit life, not only spiritual life, but in your physical life. Who are you? And that's why the first one on the very conscious level is I am. I am who? Identify who you really are. I'm an infinite being. I'm awakened being. Well, if you're awakened, what do I need to awaken to? But if you're an infinite being, let's be that infinite being. Let's be that powerful infinite being because everybody's going to try to come get our essence. So I know I went out. It's your turn. So, yes, ma'am.
I'm trying to write this down real quick. Uh, yeah, so I guess well I was gonna go into another like almost like a very prophetic dream, but I think I'm gonna go to um what I believed was an actual vision, and this was in 2024. Um I had just been meditating and I got up and I went outside. I wanted to go out and just kind of, enjoy the day. Um I had done my grounding and I sat down because I have like this patio set there. And I'm by myself and all of a sudden I'm looking and there's this what looks to me like this weird I guess if you ever like you see these these old sci-fi like they're like these ads, targeted ads, and they just kind of show up. This thing was kind of like that, except for this it was like a series of crystalline lines that made up almost kind of like this very oval type symbol or maybe a sigil or something. And I was looking at it, I'm just like, you know what? I wish I had a pen and paper because I really want to draw that because the lines were connecting and they were making a shape. And I was just I couldn't believe it was in front of me. And I'm seeing this. And it wasn't like I wasn't sitting out in the sun. I was sitting kind of, on like a patio with something over me. And this like symbol or like some of the lines popped out. And I was like, whoa, this is like, almost like 3D, and it kind of pops
Mhm.
out in front of me. And I mean, it's a little bit further than what, it was in the middle of the table. It wasn't like right here, but the microphone's here. But, and this, it looks like a bird. So I'm guessing it's like a bird. And I'm looking, it has kind of a long neck, has like a very unusual shaped head, which after doing some research, it was a phoenix bird. But this bird comes out and he's made of crystalline and the wings are flapping but very like slowly, almost like slow motion. And I'm just like, this is the most beautiful thing that I'd ever seen. And I didn't even have pen, paper, nothing. I didn't have no way. And I truthfully, I don't even think I had my phone, but I mean, you can't take a picture or something like that because, this is a very personal thing, and nobody else was seeing it. People came, like my roommate came, sat down, and, you know, they weren't seeing it, but I was, and I'm describing it. And then as I'm describing it, and I can't take my eyes off the bird, I see this, it's almost like a profile. And to me, it's like it's Native American because there's like a feather in the back of the hair, and the hair is lightly braided. and I couldn't tell if it was male or female because I didn't want to look away from this bird. And I see the dark hair, and the dark hair is like plaited into, two braids. I think it was two braids, or to me it looked like two braids. And then I see the dark skin, the bronze skin, and features. I didn't look down, but it didn't last. It was probably there for maybe 90 seconds. And then it just kind of, I would say it blurred, and then it just was gone. Because one minute it was very crisp in my sight, and the next 30 seconds, I was like, am I seeing this or is it going away? And then it was gone.
Mhm.
And that was, I was completely awake. I mean, I had just come out of like a meditative state, but that was, to me, I know what it meant. I mean, but like I said, that was, personal. And I've had dreams to me that seem like I went to sleep, and in the dream or the astral, whatever's going on there, I'm a year at least. So, I mean, I don't, it's taken some time to decipher all of these, because it, it's individualized, I mean, I wouldn't understand somebody else's vision or, you know, um, astral or out of body anything because, that was meant for them. So, I mean, to me, I've just been kind of doing this on my own,
Well,
trying to figure this out on my own here.
you know, two things to understand is that when you're meditating and you say you just got out of a meditative state when you saw this vision or dream, whatever that came to you, that's because when you're meditating, your vibration is high. When your vibration gets
Hmm.
high and you get to another dimension, don't know which dimension you was in, but you was in a high dimension to where it came to you, it showed up, and as you were thinking about it, the only thing that's coming to your mind is how do I draw this? How do I draw this? No. But if you ask questions, greetings, brother, greetings, sister, how can I help you? What are you here to help me with? Ask questions like that. This is what
Hmm.
I mean. When you have visions and dreams, talk to them. Talk to that object that's coming to you. If it's your space beings, ask them. I've talked to a mantis before. And it says, I am this person's protector. And I said, thank you. And he says, yes, you are safe enough to where I needed to tell you that. I said, thank you. You know, and I said, that's all I said. I thanked him for telling me that Mantis is that person's protector. I said, okay. But he showed up to me to let me know. And because I was meditating in a fire pit, in a circle, to where he
Hmm.
came. And he came to me. I didn't go to him. He came to me to let me know about that. And I said, all right, thank you. I understand. Now I know when I see the mantis around that person, they're the protector. So I said, okay, good, thank you. And I tell the mantis, if you need my help, call me. Let me know. You know, I can give you some energy to help. But
Hmm.
they're powerful. They're not
Yeah.
from a higher dimension. But when you raise your vibration, get out. Remember, we're in a 3D, third dimension right now. When you get to the fourth and the fifth, things happening. You know, your throat, your pineal gland, your heart chakra. Heart chakra is transformation. You have been transformed. You know, your first three chakras on the medicine wheel. South, west, north. That's I am, your spirit, your mind, body, and soul. You're working on that. And on the last one
Hmm.
is your mind, which is the powerful thing. You get that helps you raise to the different dimensions. And when you get it all three together, You go into the heart chakra because transformation begins on the third chakra, which is your power, your mind. But when you get into the fourth chakra, that's when you are transformed because once you understand your mind, body, and soul, you get away from a lot of 3D things, and you just you get above there. I mean, that doesn't mean you can be part of that 3D realm. It's just that you know better not to get involved. I mean, it's just like back home. A lot of people know I don't drink, I don't party.
Mm-hmm.
So, but if they have a graduation party going on and I go there, oh, they treat me like a royal master because they want to get me out so they can continue their party. Feed him, quit whatever it was, fill him up so he can get tired and go home sleep. But anyway, so this, if I don't feed, they pack the food for me. Says, "Oh, are you going home now? Here's your food." But anyway, I don't, they know, but I showed up. That's my support physically for the family and everything. Spiritually, I showed up. But they knew spiritually that who I am to where, you know, they didn't rush me off, but they kind of I could feel their energy of what they're trying to tell me, but that's okay. I go in there. I don't try to harass them about their party. I don't say anything about them drinking or anything about them smoking. I just let it be. I said, go ahead. It doesn't bother me. Physically, it doesn't bother me. Spiritually, I say, okay, you better watch yourself. Watching you, no. But there's under, once you get in that 3D realm, like I said, you can participate, but don't really get involved. And then you can see it from above to say, I did the right thing. I showed up to support the family of their celebration and I maintained my spiritual hierarchy, but stay connected. Stay connected because the Father will be with you. You are, as one, the Father. So, He is watching over you. And if anything happens, remember, dark doesn't come alone. Their little minions come, call upon your guides, call upon them.
Mm-hmm.
Let them do the battle for you. So this is what I mean. You keep your vibration up, and if something like that appears, talk to it. Not verbally, but telepathically, because that's how
Mm-hmm.
you communicate with them telepathically.
Mm-hmm.
Understand how high your vibration is, how strong you are. You are in that same dimensional realm when they come to you. They trust you enough to where they came to you. And if you keep your vibration up all the time, they'll come to you normal. Bigfoot will come see you. UFOs are going to show up on you, and all this.
Mm-hmm.
So keep yourself in a higher dimension, higher vibration. And don't think you're a better person than anybody else because you're always up there. No, you know, your body is still right here. It's just your spirit is in a higher
Yeah.
dimension. And once you get your mind, body,
Yeah.
and soul
Like
together,
this is
you're,
something we can all do.
yeah.
So, I mean, I don't, I don't definitely don't think of myself as better as anybody else. But what you were saying about, Sabe, about Bigfoot, I mean, it was really weird. It was like last summer. It was just like I got this idea in my head. And it was almost like I was like kind of testing it out. So I was like, all right, I'm not going to make plans at a certain place. I'm just going to just wing it and just show up, and be led, because it was like I wanted to, it was with him in mind that I wanted this, meeting or whatever it was. Um, but I wanted to explain to him how I felt about, speaking out about him. And, so like we're getting to a time where, they're going to understand that a lot of these fables or these lore are actual real. So I just kind of wanted, I just like drove, in one direction And then when I was like, okay, go this way, and then go that way. And then we ended up like at this like 6 site campground. It was like it wasn't that big, but it was like the week after New Year's, and it was like this is where or New Year's after July 4th, and it was like this is where I need to be. And drove around and I picked the site and I backed up his car and I got out. And it was just like at that moment, it was like it didn't matter if I had made plans written in stone or if I just did what I did. He knew because I got out and there was this little tiny little, those little army men.
Hmm.
There was a little tiny army man on the picnic table. And I mean, it had rained, it was windy, there was raccoons, there was squirrels, there was all kinds of birds. I mean, at any point, if anybody had been there the weekend before on the 4th, they wouldn't have left this little thing standing and it wouldn't have stayed standing in a week, just because of everything that was going on there. So I kind of felt like that was the message, you know. He looks at me as a warrior, and that's, to him that was a warrior, a soldier. But it was like weird because that night I'm like, it would, put the fire on. I started meditating, staring into the fire, because it opens up your pineal gland, that fire, or a
Hmm.
candle, even if you can do a candle. But the campfire was good, so I'm just staring into it and staring into it and staring into it. And about 15 minutes goes into it, and it was like I started to see this what looked like a language, but it didn't look English, and it was starting to appear around that fire pit. Like it was a metal fire pit, and I'm seeing it kind of like the inside of the ring from Lord of the Rings. It's like lighting up, and I'm like looking at it, going, "Okay, is this weird?" So I asked my camp buddy, I was like, are you, are you seeing some sort of weird inscription on the inside of the campfire? No, because I'm staring up because, there's all these keep seeing they're not satellites. Anyway, you don't see that normally in
Hmm.
a city because of the lights. And I'm like looking out into the woods there, and I just happened to glance over and I see this big red orb. It was huge. It was bigger than the car because I remember like it was like, oh, I could see the top of it behind the car. And it was kind of like that thing where you're just like, oh, and you look back, it was gone, but I kept seeing these orbs like peeking around trees, and they were like blue and white or like blue and silver or something. And I'm just like, somebody's hair, and um just getting like acorns like lopped, not like thrown, like whipped at, but they were just kind of like, and it wasn't even that windy, but these acorns, and I'm like sitting there thinking, there's no oaks around us. There's just like pine trees and some birch. So I don't know where these acorns are coming from, but it was almost like, and then, that was kind of like the getting to know you. And then, I think my camping buddy was like, man, you were just weird that night. And I'm like, what do you mean? It was really weird because I had my phone. I was like going in, had like a 2-room tent, and I go in and my phone is completely like static, like really weird. It was like zigzaggy, glitchy static. And I'm listening, what is wrong with my phone? I was like, that is so weird. And I just kept looking at it. And well, anyway, I get in there and I'm like looking for some stuff, because I was just gonna throw on some more shorts, because it was so hot. It was July. And to me, it felt like, I don't know, like we weren't alone, even though we were alone in the woods and there was no other campers in that site. And then we had kicked sand onto the fire and poured some water on it, and made sure it was good, laid down. Like 30 minutes later, I just happened to like roll over and I see lights on the tent. I'm like, oh my gosh. I thought it was a UFO. I was like, they're here.
You
Take
found
me
me.
with you. Here, the campfire had just gone back up again, but it was really strange because we put so much stuff on it. I'm like, all right, well, throw some more dirt on there, and get another. thing of water and just pour it on there. And I was just like, that was really weird. But I mean, I really thought that the UFO had come and it was going to take me away. I'm like, great, let's go. I was ready. But the next night, yeah, it was kind of raining a little bit, but it was like this thing was like running. Well, I wouldn't say this thing because that's really, disrespectful. But I felt like he was running around the campsite because I could hear like branches breaking and like really thick branches, just like crack. And this movement of something running around, but it wasn't a bear because, bears make a lot of noise. And I'm not saying that, Bigfoot doesn't have a smell to him, but bears smell like garbage. They smell horrible. And I wasn't really smelling any of that either. So I was like, it's not a bear. But it was like kind of like having this meeting because I remember like I'm gonna open this window in the back of the tent and then the screen, and just let that really nice breeze come in. And like I woke up and like the next morning I really felt like something was looking at me through the window. But that was about it. And then now I'm seeing a lot more video, like, evidence. I haven't had a chance to look everything over, but I mean, there's a lot more lore that is coming out and people are understanding that, these things are real to a certain point. But anyway, sorry, I was just going on that thing about what you had said, but yeah. So what about you? How about like very prophetic dreams or dreams that felt so real you were like
Well,
so
my dreams are, you know, are real. I mean, I don't question my dreams. Um,
mm-hmm,
and now, when we talk about prophetic dreams and all that, we're talking about dreaming it for the future, what's going to happen. It's basically and prophetic dreams are there, but we have a prophetic folklore that the Hopis and Zunis they follow. The third handshaking is a prophetic you know thing that they prophecy that they have come up with. And I was asked last night about what do you think about the solar flares and all these things. Yeah, I see it does affect me. Like right now, we're supposed to have some real strong solar flares coming in, and how it affects me is I got a slight headache because I've been meditating, and connecting, and I
mm-hmm,
guess those solar flares, the energy coming in, but not to where it's going to stop me. I'm not going to allow it to stop me. If I have a commitment or if I have a session and that happens, I'm not going to cancel it because I just go through with it. Because my mission is to do these people that need, a session when they come to me. Yes, I help them out, and
mm-hmm.
that's just, my thing is that, and my elders told me, said, no matter what happens, you can't take a pause. No, I mean, and because they tell you, sleeping is a waste of time. So if you have people come to you all hours of the night, answer the door, answer the door, and that's just me, I don't put it on anybody else, but other than to myself, to where yes, you know, I'm I'm changing my direction in so many ways. I know there's a lot I like to do, a lot I like to accomplish, but that word is not in the vocabulary of your mission, accomplish, because your mission is an ongoing thing. And when you cross over,
Yeah.
you're going to carry that mission to the next level, you know? So don't ever say, oh, I'm done with the mission. It's just like, I'm not going to point out anybody, but, like some people say, oh, when I die, I'm going to get to heaven. I'm going to get my reward and all that. That's fine. That's fine. I'm going to go on to the next life and do, if I've got a mission, I'm going to go do it again. If I come back here, they say, oh well, might as well do it again. You know, you know. But I do
Yeah,
this all back.
I know what you
But and then I have circled around this planet a couple times. So so when time is right, because again, universe doesn't have a time. But on Earth we do because we made it. We made it a time to where we say, okay, you're this, you're so and so years old. That body used to be infinite being. Look at back in the day. How old was Moses? How many years old was Moses? You know, 900 years old. He was what,
was he?
200 years old when his wife Sarah finally had a baby. You
Oh
know,
my.
we don't even get past 100 if we're lucky.
No,
So, so
no.
universe doesn't have time. That's why we are infinite beings. There's no time up there. I'm gonna look at my time. The real time is that in Zuni, 3 a.m. They call it. They say Mela Pikwaikya. What does that mean? Meaning that the sun has done crossed over the halfway mark. We're halfway
Mm-hmm.
in the night.
Mm-hmm.
12 o'clock noon is not high noon. It's not middle of the day. 3 o'clock is. If you look at the temperature even at 12 o'clock will continue to rise until it gets 3 o'clock. And at 3 o'clock, then it'll start going down. You know,
Yeah.
just like
I
at
never thought about
nighttime.
that.
Just
Mm.
like at night, it doesn't get cold until 3 o'clock in the morning. That's the coldest time of the part of the night, or the darkest time of the night. Before the sunrise, it gets cold. Before the sunrise, it's dark. You know, so 12 o'clock
Mm-hmm.
is not high noon. And some of the things that we tend to look at. Oh, it's 12 o'clock. We got to go eat. I'm hungry. That's programmed. You're programmed to do that. I remember when I was growing up, the biggest meal was breakfast. You eat big breakfast, chicken, pork chops, whatever. You eat it,
Mm-hmm.
then you go out in the field. When you get hungry, you might get as they call zuni bread, which is a big old oven bread, coffee, dip the oven bread. That's your lunch. Then when you go home, you might have something light, like a snack before you go to bed. They'll hold you
Mm-hmm.
throughout the night. And then when you get up, you eat a big breakfast, go off to work. That's why people were healthier, you know. And
Yeah.
now we
Yeah.
just think that you got to eat breakfast, you got to eat at noon, you got to eat dinner. Do we really need to? I mean, why is it your body can go 45 days without eating and you can only go 4 days without water? You know,
Because we're made of water. I don't
well,
know.
our body is mostly water. What is it, 80% or more water?
80%.
Yeah. So, but and people say, I can go on more about food, but anyway, um, my visions back to my visions and my dreams. My dreams are usually telling me, yes, it's prophetic dream, or unless if I'm being attacked by somebody, and they didn't accomplish it, I will see that dream of who it was, and a lot of people ask me, who's attacking me? Who's attacking me? Well, you get your vibration out, you can remote view and find out.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we when you remote view, things are so fast that you can connect to the energy. If you look at a person, you know, I don't need to confirm anything for this, for Kimberly George, but if you look at a person, you know, and feel the energy, you can connect the energy anywhere from now. Like you see me, you know me. It's just like once you see me, you know what I look like. You can describe
Mm-hmm.
me, see what I look like. But when you feel that person's energy, now you know what kind of person they are. by their energy, because you can never change your energy, but you can change your image. Take me to a plastic surgeon, see how beautiful I get. Man, it's going to take a lot of surgeries, but I'll probably be Joan Rivers, but to get beautiful. But yeah, you know, but we can change our features, but we can't change our spirit. Our spirit will be the
Hmm.
same because it's an infinite being, infinite way of doing it. So, that's why a lot of people say, "I love your spirit." That's because they're connecting their spirit with your spirit. That's when they tell you, "I love your spirit." You know, and that's why we
Hmm.
say love is the most overused word in the world today. I mean, what does love? What is love? Love shows by action. Just like Jesus said, "Walk in my footsteps." When he tells you he loves you, he said, "Walk in my footsteps." See what he does. Well, see what he did to show love. You need to walk. You know, if you don't see love, make it. Do it. You know, love the end. I can go up to a dog. You know, I can go up to a dog and say, "I love you," and the dog will respond. The
Hmm.
dog will respond, and I mean, it's neat when we go to you know to the boy's house. He's got two big dogs. The big one, Aaron. I said, "Aaron, I love you. Come up." He won't sit on me until I really start petting him. I think I posted two pictures of them big old dogs on top of me
Yeah.
because I tell them I love them. They come up on me and they just like lay on me and they protect me. I feel their protection. That's spiritual love that they're sharing with me. Not physical love because they don't understand the human physical love against, and I don't understand their dog physical love other than when I tell them spiritually, "I love you," and they can feel it and they come up to you. Any animal, any animal, it's just like in a native way. One of the things that I did when I went to, these mountains, you know, there was a bear fixing to grab a little girl. Everybody was screaming, panicking, and everything. I said, "Wait, don't, don't. Let me walk up to the bear." We have a song that we sing, and that song is just putting out your energy to where the bear is going to feel your energy and get scared of you. It's not to fear it to where it'll attack you, but it's to fear to show that you are powerful spiritually. And when I sang that song and just walking up to it and everything, and he growled, he went back, he growled and growled and growled. And I said, "No, you're not going to get me. You're not going to hurt me." And I kept going. Finally came down and went back into the woods. I went, took that little girl and I took to the family. I said, "That bear's not going to hurt you." He says, "Why?" "Because this is what we're taught to do, connect spiritually, connect with the animals spiritually. And this is what I mean. So raise your vibration. When you get your dream, when you get your vision, understand it, you know, understand what it is. And so people will say, "Well, what do you do when what do you do when you don't understand it?" Well, continue to meditate. Meditate till you get the clear answer.
Hmm.
Ask questions in your meditation. When they come to you, ask questions, you know. So anyway, there's a lot
Yeah,
of things.
that is a very good tool, meditation,
Yeah.
to be able to understand pretty much anything. And we get to that state. You're right. I have asked, in my mind, not, verbally,
asked for clarification for something, and I was given it. So, you know, and once I realized that, I was like asking all kinds of questions. But there was like certain times where it wouldn't answer me. But if I re-asked, or if I, kind of moved the words around a little bit, it was like it was understanding. It would understand it better. So, yeah, that's what I got.
Well, you know, meditation is the best way to understand your visions and your dreams. Visions, again, are instructions of your mission. You know, dreams are something that, you are thinking of or whatever. It's like they say, your dreams are your last thought before you goes into the dream world. Your dreams are, if you want to dream about, say, like if you want to dream about your daddy or your mother, or, you just think about him at night,
Hmm.
call him by the name, hey, hey, dad, and all this kind of just keep saying, hey, dad, hey, dad, hey, dad, until you fall asleep. And I guarantee you, he'll come to you in a dream. If you want to talk to your people that's passed on, call them by name, you know, or call them by, who they were, your relationship. I
Hmm.
can say, hey, grandma, hey, grandma, hey, grandma. And when I fall asleep, she comes to me, I know she's with me because I smell mothballs, you know, because she used to put her clothes in mothballs and she smelled like mothballs. So, but
Hmm.
that's in the old days, that's what they did. They put their clothes in
Yeah.
mothballs to protect it, but, so that's how I know. Or when I get myself in a bind, I know my grandma's still with me because you remind me, I'm there with you, and I believe that because, the last time I, I faced death, when I was coming back, I saw my dad, my brother, and my sister. They all had passed on. They said, we need you to deliver these messages. Tell mom I'm patiently waiting for her. My sister said, tell my
Hmm.
girls to behave. I'm watching over them. So did my younger brother. Tell my daughter I'm watching over her. She's beautiful. I said, okay. And, you know, that's what they wanted me to bring for them. So I did. I told them. But, you know, that's that's the thing about our visions and dreams. We have to really come out and say it. And so, and I guess we have to continue. I, I'm gonna I'm gonna start doing some regular podcasts, even though we do our native talk, But I
Yeah.
want to do more about other things, But you know, again, like you asked on one of the questions on the chat, give us topics. So people you're listening out there, when we get on premiere, tell us about what you want to hear from us in native. And
Hmm.
when I go to Zuni, but by golly, I'm gonna do a lot of videotaping. I'm gonna be doing a lot of videotaping with my camera, my poor camera. But or I might take my GoPro. I gotta learn how to use it
There you
first.
go. Yeah.
Gotta learn how to
I
use
know
it.
I am too. I am too like that. I get comfortable in a certain thing, and so I actually did our ad, or not our ad, but our like thumbnail today through a different app that I normally don't use because I don't feel as comfortable with it. I was like, why is your picture black and white, and why is my head so big next to you? I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. Just I just got to keep using it, and oh, I just figured
Well,
something else out on one of it. I could
all
just
I
move a
say is we're
picture over.
technically challenged. In other words, we don't know what the heck we're doing, but we're trying. We're
That's
testing. You know, it's
we're
just
doing
like
it.
And then when once I get back, whatever everything from my travels, I'm gonna look into going live. So, people, you hear that? We want to go do live. So, anyway, this is our future plans to go live. But again, we got to look into it because we don't want to be live and halfway or whatever. So
Right? Oh, yeah, I can
anyway,
see that.
again, uh, I'm Greg, One Nation Tribal Alliance. You can get a hold of me through our website, which is healthyandharmoniouslifestyle.com, or, you know, go on Facebook under One Nation Tribal Alliance, join the group. We'll welcome everybody. We're colorblind,
Hmm.
so just join the group because everybody's brothers and sisters. And also, thank you, like and subscribe our YouTube videos and on. Go ahead.
All right. Well, you can find me on Facebook, Eve Howard. You can find Prime Declassified. Prime Declassified is on Facebook. It is on Instagram. It is on TikTok and Threads. You'd be able to, if you were looking for a healing, I do have a Facebook page. It's Rising Spirit. Um, and you'll be able to find that too if you just like check on Instagram because like the podcast and the healing thing are kind of together because I already have so many different social media things. It drives me insane because when I made that thing today, it was like I was having to add it to every single site. There's got to be an easier way to do this. Um, but anyway, so like drop me a line. You can email me evehoward21 at mail.com. That is my email address that you can reach me at if you have any questions, concerns, remarks, anything like that. And thank you for tuning in. Miigwech.
All right. Well, thank you for watching. And again, we will be on chat to talk with y'all. So we will see you later on this evening. Y'all have a wonderful, blessed day. We love you. Bye bye.